If you've spent years studying warfare, you already know that World War II was not just won with tanks, planes and factories. It was won in forests, ruins, frozen fields and bombed-out cities by men who had to stay alive long enough to fight again tomorrow. Much of what kept them alive never made it into official manuals. Some techniques were quietly passed between units, others deliberately buried after the war because they were too effective, too unconventional, or too dangerous if widely known. Today, we're going to surface 8 of those survival tricks. Not myths, not Hollywood nonsense, but real methods used by soldiers who had no room for mistakes. If you care about how humans adapt under extreme pressure, this matters. Stay with me, because the first few minutes will change how you think about survival under modern conditions as well. The first secret was how soldiers learned to sleep without being seen or heard. Frontline troops quickly discovered that traditional sleep patterns got men killed. Instead, they mastered micro-sleep in hostile environments. German, Soviet and Allied troops alike trained themselves to enter shallow sleep for 5 to 10 minutes at a time, often while seated or crouched, weapon in hand. This was not rest in the modern sense, but controlled shutdown. Soldiers practiced slowing their breathing, relaxing the jaw and shoulders, and keeping one sensory channel active, usually hearing. You can still apply this today during long outdoor expeditions or emergencies by training yourself to rest in short cycles rather than waiting for perfect conditions that may never come. The second survival trick involved water purification when no equipment was available. Soldiers learned that charcoal from burned wood combined with sand and cloth could drastically reduce contaminants. This was not clean water by modern standards, but it prevented immediate sickness. Troops would layer cloth, sand, crushed charcoal, then sand again, slowly pouring water through the filter. Boiling followed whenever possible. This technique was quietly discouraged post-war because it encouraged improvisation over issued gear, yet it saved countless lives. In a modern grid-down scenario, this knowledge can mean the difference between dehydration and survival. The third trick was how soldiers stayed warm without fires. Fires meant death at night. Troops learned to insulate themselves from the ground first, not the air. Pine boughs, dry grass, straw, even cardboard scavenged from ruins were placed beneath the body, not over it. Soldiers understood that ground contact was the fastest way to lose heat. This principle is still foundational in cold weather survival, yet most people focus on blankets and clothing instead of ground insulation. The fourth secret was urban camouflage, using movement discipline rather than clothing. In bombed cities, soldiers discovered that standing still actually made you visible. Slow, irregular movement blended into rubble shadows far better than, just attempting to hide behind debris. Units trained men to move only when wind gusts, distant explosions, or vehicle noise masked sound. This applied equally to snipers and messengers. Even today, this principle applies directly to urban stealth, search and rescue avoidance, and, even wildlife tracking. The fifth survival trick involved emergency nutrition from overlooked sources. Soldiers learned that pine needle tea prevented scurvy, that acorns could be leached of tannins for calories, and that animal blood, though unpleasant, could prevent collapse when food was unavailable. These practices were rarely documented because, honestly, they contradicted ration doctrine. Modern survivalists can still use this knowledge in wilderness settings by understanding what the environment offers beyond obvious food sources. The sixth secret was psychological survival through controlled routine. Soldiers who survived long campaigns almost always created rigid personal rituals, even in chaos. Cleaning a weapon the same way, arranging gear identically, or eating in a set order helped maintain mental stability. This was not superstition. It anchored the mind. Today, this lesson is invaluable in prolonged crises where, frankly, uncertainty erodes decision-making. The seventh trick involved improvised medical care using battlefield chemistry. Soldiers learned that sugar or honey applied to wounds slowed bacterial growth, that alcohol could sterilize not just tools, but skin, and that pressure bandaging saved more lives than complex treatments. Medics often pass this knowledge quietly to infantrymen. These methods remain relevant in remote environments when modern supplies are unavailable. The eighth and final secret was how soldiers avoided detection by scent. Men learned to rub mud, crush plants, or even tobacco ash onto exposed skin to break up human odour. Dogs were widely used during the war, and scent discipline became critical. This knowledge is still applicable today in hunting, evasion, and wilderness survival. World War II survival was not about heroics. It was about adaptation, discipline, and understanding the environment better than the enemy. These techniques were powerful because they worked, and many were hidden because they undermined rigid doctrine. If you value real history and practical knowledge, this is the kind of material worth preserving. If this guide added something new to your understanding, subscribe to Iron Age Instincts, share this with fellow history buffs, and keep these lessons alive.